We have reacted to plenty of article mock drafts over the last couple of weeks, and in today's video, we are going to be reacting to a video mock draft. It's going to be ESPN's lottery mock with two of their top draft guys. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? Yeah, this is with Jonathan Givony on the right. He is their lead draft analyst. He's the top guy there at ESPN who covers the draft. When I react to ESPN's mock draft articles, it's his that I'm reacting to. And then they have Bobby Marks on the left. He was actually a former Nets assistant GM. I believe he was the GM when Billy King was there. So when the whole Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett trade went down, he's kind of like their NBA cap guy, but he also does some stuff around the draft as well. So yeah, without further ado, we're just going to hop right into this. They make every lottery pick, and I'm going to see if I agree with it or if I disagree with it. So let's just hop right in.
With their new teams. So guys, not a whole lot of drama with the first overall pick in this particular draft, but Jonathan, with the number one pick, the floor is yours.
I'm taking Lithuanian wing Mantas Rubstavicius with the number one pick. I'm shocking the world here, bucking the trend. I think it's a wing league now. Big men are out of style in the NBA. Let's go Rubstavicius.
I'm going to remove your title, draft expert. You know that's not true for realsies. Where are you going?
We're going with Victor, and I'm loving it here because it's a wonderful fit for him. I know he's very excited. I spent a lot of time with him and his family out in France. They said publicly there's no wrong pick, but privately they were very, very worried tonight. And I think for him to end up in San Antonio, they're absolutely thrilled. It's very close to his agency's headquarters in Dallas. They have a very strong relationship with the San Antonio Spurs going back many years. They have a track record of developing big men, of European prospects in general. And I know that it's a very exciting night in the Victor Wembanyama family. And also just, at the draft party, which we saw Brian Windhorst at the Champs-Elysees, which I'm very jealous to be missing right now.
Bobby, what do you think of the fit for the Spurs?
How could you not love it?
All right, so we know all about Wemby to the Spurs. Let's get into some of the real picks. I'm interested to see who they have at 2. Is it Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson?
And that's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you pick 2 and 3 here, Jonathan, because it seems it's a 2-man race between Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller, correct?
I think so, but I do think that the way things evolve does leave some openings here. I think Portland is really going to be studying what Charlotte decides to do. Charlotte could go Brandon Miller here. They could go Scoot Henderson. People are going to say, okay, LaMelo Ball, that's your point guard of the future. The ball is in his hands. You don't need Scoot Henderson. And I sort of agree with that, but I do think that when you have such an explosive scorer like Scoot, he could make sense there too. But me personally, he's going
to go Brandon Miller
moment, I have Brandon Miller
Wow.
at number 2. I just look at their wing rotation. It's just so poor right now.
I feel like I knew this, though. I feel like Givony, it's weird because like Givony, Jonathan Wasserman at Bleacher Report, Kevin O'Connor at The Ringer, they've all been on Brandon Miller to Charlotte at 2, which seems like it's going to happen if all these guys have like the most intel out of any draft analyst. And if they kind of know something that Brandon Miller is going to Charlotte, I just can't believe they're doing it. And Scoot Henderson's going to either fall to Portland's laps or any team that's going to make a franchise-altering trade with the 3rd overall pick. Either it's New Orleans, either it's Toronto, either it's the Clippers or some team like that. That's crazy. It does happen.
Terry Rozier and James Bouknight and Gordon Hayward, who is a shell of himself, and Oubre and Bryce McGowan. Brandon Miller is going to be basically the number 1 option from day one. LaMelo Ball is a naturally unselfish player who loves to pass the ball, and Brandon Miller is going to love being alongside him. It's going to give him an avenue to be a playmaker, to play pick and roll.
I actually think they would be a fun duo too, because Brandon Miller is also a fairly good playmaker, especially for somebody at his size.
Go get his own shot, to use his size from that 2-guard position, to create and shoot over the top, and also use his playmaking ability, because he's going to love, LaMelo Ball just empowers you with the way that he moves it. And so I think that's a great combination. But I do think that, that Charlotte is going to look at Scoot, and if in that scenario, Portland would be very happy to have Brandon Miller. But let's say Brandon Miller goes 2. Portland, with Dame Lillard, I don't know about, Portland is very, very serious about continuing the Dame Lillard era. People want, them to trade him away and, get a package of picks and all that. They're not feeling that whatsoever. They're going to continue to move forward with Lillard. And so how does he fit with Scoot Henderson? I mean, he's clearly the most talented guy on the board here, but do they look at an Amen Thompson? Do they look at an Asar Thompson? I don't personally think so, but I do think it's going to be a conversation. And knowing the way that that front office operates, they're going to bring everybody in. They're going to want to take a look. They're going to kick the tires, and they're going to make the best decision.
I mean, like, yeah, dude, if Portland really ends up not moving Dame and they keep Scoot Henderson, that would just make no sense at all. It's either you got to trade, like, at that point, just trade Scoot Henderson. I don't even want to see him in Portland if you're not trading Dame.
All right, guys. So now we move into the part of the draft where teams are weighing the rest of the top college players on the board versus the potential of the Thompson twins, who instead played in overtime elite league. So where do you think Houston goes with their number 4 pick, Jonathan?
Well, first of all, they have to be very upset falling from 2 to 4. And this really opens up a wide range of possibilities for them.
I think they would be upset falling 2 spots in the lottery.
I think they're going to look at both of the Thompson twins, Amen and Asar. I think they're going to look at Cam Whitmore. I think they're going to look at Anthony Black. Personally, I'm taking Amen Thompson. I think he's the player with the highest upside in this draft at this point. And I think his fit here is very strong alongside Jabari Smith, Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green. I think he can play with all those guys. He can guard the better, the tougher of the matchups because he can guard 1 through 3. He brings you, that playmaking ability, the tremendous creativity, a 7-foot wingspan. I'm excited about Amen Thompson here, but they are going to kick the tires on a couple of other of these wings and guards at the same time.
I'm so excited to see how these Thompson twins come into the NBA. I'm excited, man. I hope they do well. I think they're going to be fun to watch, but I really have no idea what to expect. Them coming from a terrible competitive league to the most competitive league in the world.
What they do with their cap space, and they've been well known to say, like, we're going to go out and spend this $60 million on somebody or on 2 or 3 players. Then I think you can take more of a developmental project and let them kind of, come up the ranks. I mean, this is 3rd youngest roster in the NBA this year. I mean, you're going to have to go out and get some veterans here. And I think if you do, then you can take a player like him.
And as mad as Houston was to drop, what about the Detroit Pistons, who finished with the first record in the NBA? They had a 14% chance at the top pick and a better than 50% chance of landing in the top 4, but they fell down to pick 5. So, Jonathan, what are their options at 5?
It's crazy. I didn't even realize 1 to 5 first time with the new lottery, because the Knicks in 2019 fell from 1 to 3. The Warriors 2 years ago, or this is 3 years ago in 2020, they fell from 1 to 2. In 2021, I think the Rockets had the number 1 odds, or they were the worst team in the league, tied for the number 1 odds. They fell from 1 to 2, got Jalen Green, and then last year it might have been the Rockets again that fell from 1 to 3. I could be wrong there, but yeah, the Pistons really got boned this year, falling from 1 to 5.
Big yikes for this fall here. It's shocking. And then you go to a commercial break, you have to stew through it all. I think that they are going to look at a lot of players here. Honestly, there's no clear-cut pick at this point. I think both of the Thompson twins are in play, but I personally picked Jarris Walker just because I feel like having that defensively versatile 4-3-ish who doesn't need the ball, who can make an open shot, who can facilitate your offense a little bit, just make the extra pass, bring the physical tools that that front office covets. I think that's attractive at this spot, but I also think that a guy like Cam Whitmore is someone very interesting to look at. I think Asar Thompson is interesting to look at, but I went with Walker. But that does create a little bit of a log jam because he's really a natural power forward, and there's such a log jam of big men at this spot.
That's fine, but you're not taking your best player available because you have Marvin Bagley on your team, because you have Bojan Bogdanovic, who's 34, you have Isaiah Stewart, who's a free agent next year. It's really crazy though, because I think if Amen Thompson goes at 4 to Houston, I don't think Detroit would take Amen Thompson. They really have 3 players that I love that they could take at 5, and Walker, Asar Thompson, and Cam Whitmore. So it's going to be interesting to see who they end up going with next Thursday.
With all these discarded guys that they've assembled with Wiseman and Bagley, they've been playing Isaiah Stewart at the 4, so not an easy choice.
Yeah, it is weird because Isaiah Stewart out of Washington was drafted to be the center for them
here, but I'll be very interested to see how it plays out. I think trades are going to be heavy in play here too.
Yeah, I think the likelihood is that he's going to be on the roster longer than Isaiah Stewart and Marvin Bagley.
There you go.
I mean, I think that's how you have to look at it as far as the length of his contract here. Even if there is a log jam, and then you got Jalen Duren and James Wiseman at the 5 here. I mean, you certainly can go the wing approach because of with Bojan Bogdanovic as kind of, we're going to hear his name again as far as certainly in trade rumors here. But I'm fine with Walker, even though as Jonathan said, there is a little bit of a glut at power forward.
All right, Jonathan, we're going to just round out the top 10 here. I want you to run through 6 through 10. Just give me the names, and then we'll kind of, sift through the ones that stand out with Bobby.
I'm going Asar Thompson with the Orlando Magic.
Love that. Cam Whitmore falling to 7, Anthony Black 8, Grady Dick at 9. It feels like that might not happen. It feels like he's not going to go in the top 10, and then he has Taylor
Magic. Cam Whitmore with Indiana at 7, Anthony Black to the Washington Wizards at number 8, Grady Dick to Utah at number 9, and then Taylor Hendricks to Dallas at 10.
And Bobby, you've help prepare prospects for draft interviews for this draft and in previous years. So what's the most interesting thing you've learned about this year's crop, and specifically that 10 through 6 that Jonathan just went through?
It's funny, Cassie, it's Anthony Black. And it's, the perception that, you watched the game when they played Vanderbilt, when there was the altercation with Jerry Stackhouse on the court and they almost fought and everything like that. And you're thinking like, there's something, you think of a player differently than when you get to interview him and you get to talk to him, and he's a sweetheart.
It feels like Anthony Black has been mocked to the Wizards so much, and like everybody's mocked. Does that mean it's going to happen, or does that mean, okay, just stay away from mocking that because it's not going to happen?
I mean, he is the nicest kid that I've talked to during this draft process. And for him, like, the Wizards fit would be perfect. I think, especially if he can play, he's a big guard, can play point guard. That's something they've been looking for. They basically have patched it with Monty Morris and DeLon Wright here. But for him, his personality, I think, would fit in great. I think with all these players here, the one thing quick, there's so much. All these players had the opportunity to pick where they want to go, right? Whatever college they want to go. Now, except for Victor, they don't have that choice, right? They're not in control anymore as far as what organizations they go to. So there is a little bit of that unknown there.
All right, so Jonathan, now that we're through the top 10, which of those prospects, 6 through 10, do you have your eye on the most?
I think Asar Thompson is one of the most fascinating prospects in this draft, just because he could go as high as 3 potentially, and he could slide all the way into the 6, 7, 8 range.
Well, I don't think Asar Thompson is going number 3. I just don't think he's going in the top 3. I feel like he's going to go in that 5 to 7 range. I feel like he's going to either be a Piston, a Magic, or a Pacer. It would be crazy if he fell to like Utah at 9, or I think Washington has to take him at 8 and then really explore trading Bradley Beal because his ceiling is so much higher than Anthony Black's, and that's what you kind of need with Washington. But I guess that can maybe also give you the decision to keep Bradley Beal because you're like, all right, could this guy develop into a top 35 guy in the league, and then we can have him with Beal? But no, I mean, like, the Wizards got to trade Beal.
No consensus in the NBA about what to think about Asar Thompson, or really even what position he is. If you asked Asar Thompson, he'd tell you, I'm a point guard. I average 6 assists a game, but then you talk to NBA people, they say, hey, how good of a handle does he have? He's a little bit wild at times with his decision making, but
I actually kind of like Asar Thompson's handle. I might like it more than Immense.
I mean, NBA teams love the explosiveness. They love the defensive versatility. They love the fact that he's really improved his shooting as the year moved on. The comparing him and his brother Amen, again, there's no real consensus about who the best player is. I expect these two to end up, in a lot of the same workouts. For the example, Portland at 3, Charlotte even at 2. Very interesting to see where Asar Thompson goes. I have him at 6 with Orlando. I think that's a great fit. Playing him alongside of Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter, just allow him to spread his wings and play, any of those backcourt positions, bring that passing, the defensive versatility, the transition scoring. If he gets his jumper right, he could end up being one of the best players in this draft class.
Now let's put a
I
bow
agree.
on the lottery picks as a whole. Jonathan, can you run through 11 through 14 for me and why you think they fit best at that pick?
So at 11, I have Jordan Hawkins, Orlando's second pick. I just feel like they're going to go with the best shooter.
I don't know. I feel like Hawkins has lost a little bit of steam as of late. I mean, I don't hate that at all. It's just like Kaysen Wallace still on the board, but Orlando doesn't need another point guard. Huh. Interesting I mean, Hawkins and Asora. I've been mocking that, or I've been mocking Grady Dick and Jordan Hawkins, but now not really anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Hawkins is in. I don't know. He could go 11. He could.
Are available, and Grady Dick is not on the board. I think I'll look at Hawkins here. He's a plug-and-play shooter, can come off screens. Led college basketball in three-pointers made, 39% national championship credentials. Orlando needs a guy like that on their roster. At 12, Oklahoma City. This is really the team that doesn't need anything, to be honest with you. The last thing they need is another young player. I would expect them to maybe explore trade opportunities. Maybe you package this 12 pick with, the dozen or so first rounders they have coming the next few years. Maybe you look to move up. Maybe you look to get a veteran, but I have them taking Kaysen Wallace right now in 12. I just think a guy like that who doesn't need the ball, who is one of the better defenders in this draft, who's a very unselfish player, brings toughness, feel for the game, spot up shooting, versatility. I think that's attractive with their situation, what they have on their roster right now.
Yeah, I love Kaysen Wallace in OKC.
Now, at 13, the Toronto Raptors, I'm looking at Nick Smith here.
Ooh.
I think the Raptors need to swing for the fences and take the player with the highest upside that they can.
You don't really see Nick Smith mocked on the lottery that much anymore, let alone from ESPN's top draft analyst.
Get at this slot. Nick Smith started the year off as the number one projected college player in the draft. He was a top 5 pick to start. He had an injury-plagued freshman season. I do not think we saw the best of Nick Smith at Arkansas this year, but his ability, at 6'5", to be a lead ball handler who can shoot off the dribble, pass off a live dribble, finish with creativity around the rim, make shots from all over the floor, bring you that intensity defensively. I think Toronto has to look at that with their backcourt situation, losing Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent potentially. They have a big gaping hole at that spot. And then at 14, New Orleans. I'm not exactly sure whether they need another rookie. Honestly, with the season that they have, they're going to be looking at vets here at this spot. So maybe a trade could be in the cards. If they do stay at 14, I think a guy like Keontae George can make sense for them. Their offense got very stagnant last year when Zion Williamson was out. Having another guy in the backcourt who can create off the dribble, who can shoot off the bounce, who can pass off a live dribble, just bring you that scoring punch off the bench that they at times lacked. I think it could be attractive. I just don't know at age 19 if he fits their timetable. This is a franchise that wants to make the playoffs right away. So that's what I have to close out the lottery.
Okay, yeah, so that was ESPN's lottery mock draft. I'm interested about Nick Smith at 13, Kaysen Wallace falling all the way to 12, and Grady Dick going as high as 9 at the moment. So we'll see how this unfolds over the next week. I enjoyed reacting to a video mock draft, different than reacting to an article. Let me know if there's any other YouTube video mock drafts you want me to react to in the comments below. We still have so much more draft content coming out ahead of next Thursday's draft, in which I will be live streaming it on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed, drop a like if you guys did enjoy, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.